You are standing in a crowded room. You are upright, your eyes are open, and your body is physically holding space in a busy workshop. Someone asks you a question, and your voice answers them. But you are not there. Your awareness is missing entirely, captured in a mage-heat trance, a state where the mind is hijacked while the body functions on autopilot. Specific magical conduits, like focal stones, emit a targeted sensory harmony when placed near each other. A sensitive mind detects this resonance as a physical pressure, a persistent, highly tuned acoustic signal that demands attention. This signal is highly aggressive. It quickly overrides normal attention, aggressively pushing the physical workspace, the sawdust, the tools, the voices, into the background. The stones become the single brightest point of focus in the room, effectively drowning out the actual physical environment. The threat here does not announce itself with a roaring monster or a sudden explosion. It is a quiet, ordinary object sitting on a desk. It smoothly and silently pulls human awareness completely away from baseline reality, bypassing every physical alarm the body possesses. When that magical pressure hits, the brain scrambles to protect itself. Instead of shutting down entirely, the mind retreats into a mental safe room. It builds a shelter out of cold, calculating business logic. Fear is actively muted. Confusion is filed away. The brain desperately tries to apply order to a supernatural threat. This cognitive flowchart illustrates what we call the profit loop. Unable to process the magical anomaly, the brain defaults to its most familiar algorithm. It blocks out the incoming panic and fear and forcefully reroutes all attention into a repeating, closed circle of quantitative variables. Suddenly, the victim calculates carat weight and profit margins. As you can see, the calculation loop shrinks into a tight, isolated center, while unaddressed external threats grow and completely surround it. The physical danger goes unchecked. Defaulting to familiar productivity is what allows the trance to persist. Because the internal experience feels like a standard logic exercise, the brain fails to flag the situation as a hijacking. Deep inside the trance, perception begins to overlap. The brain tries to process the physical workspace, the texture of the counters, the weight of the tools, and the hidden magical rhythm underneath. Because the mind cannot separate the ordinary details from the supernatural ones, the entire physical environment becomes completely impossible to trust. This diagram shows how the trance systematically mutates external human input. If a familiar friend is standing in the room, they are stripped of their identity. The brain translates them purely into raw sensory data. A living person becomes nothing more than abstract patterns of warmth, rhythm, and living energy. A human conversation turns into ambient background noise. But watch as a sharp, jagged frequency line slices directly through those rhythmic data waves. This represents a second, conflicting signal, an external warning voice from someone in the room, layered with urgency and memory. It cuts across the trance like an emergency alarm trying to break through a wall of static. What results is a literal battle for processing power inside the brain. One signal pulls the mind deeper into the magical harmony, while the external voice desperately tries to pull it back. This internal tug-of-war proves that the trance is a violent contest for attention, leaving the victim entirely stripped of their agency. Eventually, the structural integrity of the mental safe room fails. The neat business algorithms and calculations can hold back the magical pressure for so long before the system succumbs, shattering the protective grid into chaotic fragments. This triggers a hard reset. The mind is violently and abruptly dropped back into physical reality. The victim regains awareness right in the middle of a sentence, standing in a room full of people, with missing minutes they cannot begin to explain. The return is incredibly messy. The magical frequency doesn't cleanly disappear. It leaves an afterimage. That supernatural rhythm continues to ghost over normal, everyday details. The counter, the stones, the ambient light, making the physical world feel highly unstable and deeply untrustworthy. Surviving the experience is terrifying because of that chaotic return. It provides immediate, physical proof of how easily a person's presence can be completely severed from their body and then haphazardly reattached a few minutes later. When the victim snaps back, they don't scream or show fear. The first thing that leaks out is the business babble. They wake up immediately spouting complex pricing strategies, faceting costs, and carrot values, because that math was the very last thread their hijacked mind was holding onto. This leads to a horrific paradox. The trance actually produces a useful idea. During those missing minutes, while completely disconnected from reality, the hijacked brain managed to generate a highly viable, profitable product line based entirely on the magical stones that initiated the attack. That usefulness creates a dangerous psychological trap. If losing control of your mind yields a valuable high-end business strategy, there is a profound temptation to excuse the violation. It becomes terrifyingly easy to ignore a total loss of mental agency if the process produces a profitable result. Then comes the social vulnerability. A witness in the room asks a simple question. "That's where you've been?" That question exposes the massive gap between the victim's internal maze of complex calculations and the external reality of their eerily vacant body standing in silence. Presence is a public performance. While the internal experience involves a complex maze of data, observers only see an eerily vacant body. Watching a person's awareness vanish in real time leaves them socially exposed and unable to control how their own behavior is interpreted. Looking at this timeline, we can mathematically frame the missing gap. Exactly 300 seconds pass. Within that impossibly brief window, the mind undergoes a complete psychological hijacking, navigates a private storm of magical data, and generates a complex business plan. When that massive web collapses back down to a standard clock, the victim's trust in objective time is destroyed. If an entire reality can be overwritten in 5 minutes, every future pause, silence, or idle moment near those stones becomes a highly suspicious trap. The most helpless aspect of the entire event is that the victim could not wake themselves. They required a sharp, external jolt from another person to break the loop. Their physical safety is entirely dependent on someone else noticing the signs and intervening before the trance goes too far. Immediately upon waking, the exhausted brain has to initiate a cover story. The victim has to act normal, answer questions, and desperately hide the missing time to avoid being treated as a physical danger by the very people who just saved them. This phenomenon proves a chilling reality. There is no impenetrable fortress within human cognition. If the right sensory signal hits the right trigger, the safest, most logical parts of your brain can be hijacked, weaponized, and turned into a prison you don't even know you're locked inside.